Hello, everyone. We are back for another fun book chat today, and I have another new guest for you guys to check out. I'm going to bring her in and let her introduce herself. So, my friend, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us about your book.
All righty. Well, my name is Kimberly Clark. I am a veteran, a published author of Stuck Between Pleasure and Pleasing God. I'm a motivational speaker, as well as a certified peer support specialist. So my book, again, called Stuck Between Pleasure and Pleasing God, it's a memoir about my life in the Navy. I survived the MST, which is a military sexual trauma, and I struggled with addiction and alcoholism for 10 years. Um, and looking for ways to cope after that happened. And so that's what the book is about. It's about that struggle, and it's also about hope, about how I healed, how I survived it, and like healing is just so important. And that's why I wanted to write the book to let people know that they can heal from things like that.
I love that thought because healing is important. Did you find that writing your story helped with the healing, or did you find healing before you wrote it out?
Actually, a little bit of both. Like there was some healing in some areas before I started writing, but as I released it, it took me all of 2021 to write the book. And so as I was writing and as I released it, man, like I found out some like even more stuff about myself that I didn't even know. Like I was stronger than I gave myself credit for, and that I survived more than I thought that I did. Like sometimes you don't even know some of the stuff that you actually went through, or you don't know the depths of it until you tell it to another person, until you write it down. And so writing it down definitely was a release, and was definitely healing for me.
What sparked the initial healing? Like, what brought you to that point where you realized I need to change things?
Well, I was drinking every day, all day, just to function for 10 years. And I was in this vicious cycle that I mean, I just could not get out. And I knew I wanted different because I mean, it was outside of my character. I grew up in the country. I grew up, going to church and things like that. And I have a relationship with God. I have a relationship with the Creator. And so I knew that that's not the person that I wanted to be. I found myself homeless, helpless, and I was hopeless, all internally. I found myself at that place. And I wanted something different. I wanted something more. And I was willing to try anything to get it.
That's good because that's a hard like spot to get to, you know.
Yeah.
In writing the book, what did you find was your biggest struggle?
My biggest struggle, well, some of the parts, especially like in my childhood, I had to figure out how I wanted to write it
Mhm.
because I had sexual assaults from family members growing up. And so I didn't want to name names, but I also wanted to get my truth out. You know what I mean? And so I had to figure out how to write that, but be honest at the same time. And so I prayed about before I wrote it, and I was pretty happy with how it came out.
That's good. Did your family find that as a surprise once you wrote it, or did they like had you kind of dealt with those issues beforehand?
A little bit with my mother. I didn't tell my mom until I was an adult, until I was like 23, 24. But I was drinking when I told her, so she kind of chopped it up to the alcohol. And so when I did get sober, I had some conversations with family members, but they didn't know the depths of it. And so they read about it. And so they were even more supportive of me, even because my family has always been supportive,
That's
right? But
great.
they were even more supportive, and even, they just wanted to know why. They needed a why for everything,
Hmm.
because that's not how I grew up. But addiction does not discriminate. No matter what background you're from, no matter who you are, no matter how much money you got, addiction does not discriminate. And I think it answered a lot of questions for them too.
Yeah. Go ahead and share with me a little bit about your experience with the Navy. You can mention if you want to talk about like what led into the incident that occurred for the sexual abuse, or just like I don't know, just retell your experience like for us there. So I have no experience there, so but I would love to hear it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I'm grateful that I'm to a healing place where I can talk about, my trauma and be comfortable with, letting it out because I want other people to heal. I want other people to recover. So I joined the Navy at 17 and I got orders to Guam, which is a beautiful, beautiful tropical island. I mean, it was gorgeous. A country girl like me coming from a town, the population of about 600 people going to a tropical island. Just imagine, right? And so
yes.
I got to Guam. I loved my job. I mean, my ship, when I first saw my ship, it was almost majestic to me. And so I got there. I was doing my job. I loved my job. I loved everything about it. I was making friends. I was a bit of a tomboy back then, too. So I had mostly male friends. And so we would party a lot. We would drink every day. We would get off work. We would drink when we get to Liberty, which is when we deploy to another country, and we had free time. That's called Liberty. We would go drink. So we was at a party one night, and it was a lot of people there, maybe like 60 or 70 of us. And what was supposed to be a friend of mine, he had noticed I got really, really, really drunk, almost blackout drunk, and so I remember asking him to take me back to my barracks, and he took me back, and he raped me. And so I don't remember like full details on what happened, but I do have flashes of like him being on top of me, and I remember so vividly of him saying, man, I shouldn't be doing this, but she's not gonna let me do it any other way. And I remember him so clearly saying that, yeah. And so he was a higher rank than I was, and so I didn't tell anybody for the first few days, but I noticed a change. I noticed something was different, like everything inside of me. There was a shift. I knew that I would never be the same after that. And so maybe like a week later, I told somebody, and he's a friend of mine. Actually, we're still best friends to this day. Rashad Vance, and he got extremely, extremely mad. He went and confronted the guy. He took like seven of his friends. They went and confronted him with them. The dude, he came outside, but you could tell he was really, really scared. And so they got back to my chain of command because it happened right in front of the barracks and everybody saw it happen. And my chain of command, they had to do something about it. And so I had to go talk to the psychiatrist. I had to go talk to NCIS every day for months. And they had me wear a wire to go talk to the guy. He was working in the barbershop. So I had to go talk to the guy in the barbershop to try to get him to confess. And he never confessed. And they had me call him with the phone line tapped, try to get him to confess, and he never confessed once again. And so at that time, I was just beside myself, you know. Um, I remember trying to commit suicide like two times while I was in Guam. I took 127 pills. I was 17 years old. I was a virgin when that happened, and I was violated. I wanted to give myself away biblically, when I got married. And that chance, that opportunity was taken from me. And I just felt like, it wasn't worth living anymore. And so we, after I tried to commit suicide, they medevaced me back to the States, back to San Diego. And I didn't know I was getting a medical discharge, but they was giving me a medical discharge, a med board. And
Hmm.
so I was having to go like do all these medical things and like get my wisdom teeth pulled, all that kind of stuff just to get you out. Got to make sure all these things happen before they can actually get you out. And so while I was doing that time, while I was doing all of that, we was going through trial. We was doing trial via video conference, and he ended up getting away with it because there was alcohol involved, and they couldn't prove anything. So basically, he got away with it. And that happens all too often in the military, where women, even men, I do have a best friend today who was gang raped. He's a guy. He was
Mm.
gang raped in the military by officers, and they gave him a medical discharge and just kicked him out. Nothing ever happened to the guys that did it though. And it happens just way too often where we are abused, we are hurt, and we're not protected. Nobody stands up for us. There's no justice because usually it's officers who are doing it, and they have way more power than we do, and
Mhm.
they just give them a slap on the wrist, let them still stay in with the same rank, and just tell us we're crazy, and kick us out and give us medical discharge.
Complete abuse of power. And
Right.
that's why it's
Exactly.
important for people to share their stories like you're doing with your book and everything. Since it's been published, have you noticed anything change regarding that situation? Did they ever reopen it, or is it still just completely like they're not going to touch it and mess with it?
No,
Gosh.
they're not gonna touch it. They was like sending me notices of where he went, like if he would change command or anywhere, if he got out the military, they would keep me updated, and they did that for like 3 years, and they just stopped altogether. Like, yeah, I haven't heard anything from the Navy since then.
Hmm.
Yep.
You mentioned that you were a public speaker and that you speak out on this all the time. What is a message you want to send others who have been in the same situation and are dealing with all the emotions and the trauma and everything that comes from that?
That the only way to really heal, the only way to really move forward is to face the trauma. I've tried so many different ways, so many different detours to try to get around doing just that thing. And it always brings you back to having to face it. We cannot move forward unless we face our trauma. We got to accept that it happened because we survived it. We are warriors. We are warriors. We have to accept that fact and don't look at it as, we were victims of this thing. We were victimized, but we're not victims. We are warriors because we survived it. When we can look at it and accept that it happened, then we can move forward because we are truly survivors.
That is awesome. So, in your book, let's talk about the layout of it. Do you start with like a brief history of yourself? Like, let's tell me a little bit of how you set the reader up to fall into the story.
Okay. Well, I actually, the way I wrote it, I went to rehabilitation for like the last time in 2021.
Hmm.
And the way I wrote it, I just outlined. I started from when I was a child, and I just started writing down things that I remember. And like over maybe a month's time, I just everything that I thought of, I would write it down, like from different stages of my life, and I went from there. And so the first part of my book, it starts out like I found myself this homeless, helpless drug addict living on the street, getting high, drinking just to function. It starts out there, and then it goes back to like when I was a child, and how I grew up, the feelings I had growing up, like the low self esteem and things like that, the daddy issues, and the things that happened with my dad and stuff like that. And it leads up to the military, and then the addiction, during the addiction, and then what I'm doing now. And so that's the layout of the book. But yeah, I started from the beginning all the way to the end. But it does give like a little, I guess, teaser in the very beginning
Yeah,
on some of the things that happened in active addiction. Yeah, it was. I have some crazy stories, some
I
really
believe
crazy
it. And
stories.
it sounds like that's got a great like hook to pull readers in. What do you think
Yeah.
in your brain and your thoughts and everything? What do you feel was your craziest story that you put in there?
Oh man, let me see. There's one specific, like, this is gonna be wild. All right, so I was homeless at this point. I was in an abandoned house, like with no electricity, no nothing. Right. It
Hmm.
was. the fall of 2009, on a raining, stormy day. I came home from the Navy. I was broken. I was full of pain, and I was just looking for ways to cope with the sexual trauma I just endured in Guam. And so I
Mhm.
went out partying with some family members, riding around, drinking, listening to music. I was doing the country. And we ended up at my cousin's boyfriend's house. And so my cousin's boyfriend, and my aunt, they were in the kitchen smoking something off of a can. And I can remember so vividly this constant flickering of a lighter. And so I was already thinking that I wanted to stop being in the pain that I was in. So I had the audacity to ask, "What is that?" And my aunt replied to me, "Baby, this is crack cocaine." And the way she introduced me to it was if I was being introduced to a person. And so I took the can and I put it up to my nose because I didn't know what I was doing. And my cousin's boyfriend corrected me and put it up to my mouth. And as I sucked on that can for the very first hit ever, man, all my cares went away. I was finally numb. And no matter how hard I chased that high after that, I never got it again.
Mhm.
Never got it again. And I didn't know the danger that was waiting on me while I did. That was the very first time I was ever introduced to drugs, period. Before that, I never knew what crack cocaine was. My mother sheltered us growing up. We didn't know nothing about that. All we knew was go to
Mhm.
school, go to college, get a job. You know what I mean? Like that was our
Yeah.
plan. I didn't know nothing about the drug life. I'd never been exposed to it either. And so I didn't know about crack cocaine, but my aunt did.
Mhm.
I didn't know the road that was going to lead down. And I was addicted from the first hit that I ever took.
Do
Very
you
first
find
hit.
yourself regretting like going to that party like now or maybe at some point in time?
I did it first. I did it first. But in all honesty, all the things that I went through, like from that point on, was the only reason I found myself. Was the only
Mhm.
reason I figured out like who I was and who I knew I didn't want to be ever again. You know,
Yeah.
even when I was on the streets, like it was hard for me to conform to the street life. Because I didn't know nothing about manipulation and taking advantage of people and the game, and I didn't know nothing about stuff like that. And I was always convicted about stuff like that, so I could never do it. So I was always ended up being the one that was taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it taught me a lot about me and who I knew I wanted to be and who God called me to be, and my purpose and my passion. I found my purpose and my passion in all of my mess. Absolutely.
That is awesome. After you finished writing the book, what was your first thought?
Man, I finally did it. Finally did it. Look, God gave me the title of my book when I was a teenager. Like I knew that I was gonna write a book, but I didn't know the content that was gonna be in it. And
Mhm.
so I don't know, like I finally did it. Like I was just happy that I accomplished it because a lot of people got a book in them. A lot of people can
Mhm.
write a book, like it would have a great story, but to actually do it, there's
Yeah.
only a few percentage of people that actually do it and actually publish it and actually, actually go through the whole process. And I
Yeah.
was so proud of that accomplishment. Just knowing, like, man, my story's out here now. Like, it wasn't all for nothing. It was not all for
Yeah.
nothing.
People definitely underestimate the process of getting it done and actually putting it out
Ooh,
there.
yeah.
With going through the process and actually publishing it, did you find that you preferred one thing over the other in the publishing process? Did you have something that you liked the most? And then also, what was the thing you hated the most?
All of it. No, well, like choosing a book cover, I think was my favorite part. Cause I mean, when I first saw the options, I was excited. I'm like, how can I choose? I want all of them, But
Yeah.
I think the part that I least like was maybe finding somebody to edit it and stuff like that. because I knew that I couldn't. Well, I didn't want to do it. Put it like that. I
Mhm.
didn't want to do it, and then I didn't know like all of like the Amazon requirements and stuff like that. And so just finding somebody who's trustworthy to do it, because there's so many options out there, and most of them are scammers.
Yeah,
For editing and
unfortunately.
formatting. Right, right. For editing and formatting and stuff like that. And so just finding somebody that was trustworthy to do that, and just waiting for it to all be done. That's hard too. Waiting.
Yes, it is. It takes
Yeah.
forever to like do the whole editing and get it work done.
Oh
That's I
man.
think one of my most dreaded parts. It's a necessary part, but dreaded.
Yes, absolutely. But I learned a
It
lot of things publishing my
yes.
first book that I'm taking in a full view with this next one. I'm writing another one now. And
Yeah.
so I didn't do like a pre-lunch or anything like that with my first one. And like
Mhm.
now I know, what to do with this second one, and like keywords and stuff like that for Amazon. I didn't know none of that. I didn't know none of that. None of it. I was just
Yeah.
happy to get it out there. You know what I'm saying? But
We
now
all
I
start
know.
somewhere though, because I was the same.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
It's
I'm
a
like,
huge
man, there's
learning
so much that goes
process.
into it. Oh
Yes.
yeah, yeah. It is a huge
So the
learning
second
process.
book you're working on, is it related to the one you've got out currently?
Not really. The first one was, a memoir. This second one is about your mindset. It's about shifting your mindset. I figured, why not take all the things that I wish I knew early on, all the things
Mhm.
that helped me during my healing process, all the things that, man, that changed my life. Just put it all in one book. And that's what I did. I wrote down like all the things that helped me. Like I even went down to like all the like Facebook posts that I made that had like a lot of response. I made that
Sweet.
and put that into the book too. And so
Hey,
all
that's
the things that
good.
I know, right? All the things that I know is gonna help people, and I know it's gonna help people heal. Man, it's in there. It's in there, and it's not even really a long book either. It's like maybe 40 pages, but it got a lot of impact. It's straight to the point. So
That's
yeah,
good because we need more like that to help people heal in the world, honestly, and
right.
like make it easier to find because everybody's been. Okay, I'm assuming everybody's been because majority of us have been through some type of trauma, and
Right.
changing your mindset helps regardless of the trauma. So
Yes,
it's awesome.
absolutely.
And did you find that you struggled like with getting all of that down? When did the idea come to you for the second book?
Well, maybe a few months after the first one, because I wasn't going to write a second book. Like, I wanted to get my story out. That was it, you know.
Hmm.
And man, I just somebody I don't know what somebody I forgot what somebody told me, but I heard something from somewhere, and it kind of clicked a light bulb in my brain. I'm like, man, you know what? I just need to write a book about healing. Because it like before I even started like motivational speaking, I just wanted to tell my story. That's it. I didn't want to, like do all the keynote speaker, the group code, all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to tell my story. And then the more information I got, about, creating a business, getting an LLC, EIN, like all that veteran owned business type stuff, the more information I got, the more confidence I had, because I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can really do this as long as I have like the right guidance, the right mentor, because everybody needs a mentor. Every
Hmm.
mentor has a mentor. You know what I mean? As long as I have
Yeah.
the right guidance and the right mentor, then I can do this. The more you learn, the more confidence you'll have. So definitely never stop learning. Never stop getting knowledge. Absolutely.
Yes, I agree. What was it like the first time you had somebody come to you to talk to you about how your story inspired them?
Oh wow. It was mind blowing, because I don't know. I mean, not, and I say this with all humility, but when you have like a powerful story, when you've been through a lot, and you know that it's life changing. But to actually hear that from somebody, it was like I cried. I literally cried the first time somebody told me that something in my story resonated with them and then made them rethink how they were approaching their life, how they were approaching how they dealt with certain situations. And like it literally made me cry. I'm like wow, like then I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, that I was actually walking in my purpose and walking in the way that I was supposed to be walking. And that's how you know you're doing the right thing, when people can resonate with it, when they can see it, when they respect it, when they respect you for, your courage and resiliency. It takes courage and resiliency to tell our stories. No matter how deep it goes, it takes courage to tell it. It does.
That it does. How did you overcome, oh, like, all the nerves and the stage fright to put yourself out there?
I just did it. I don't think I just did it, like for real. I don't think I will ever really get over like the stage fright, in all honesty. But what I do, I pray before I go on anything, and I meditate and I practice. No matter how well you know your own story, still practice. Because if you know what you're going to say, it takes a lot of the stress off of going up there and actually doing it. But definitely, we know our stories because we lived through it, right?
Hmm.
But still practice it. Definitely practice it. And always have like that one first thing that you're going to say, like that opening story that's going to hook everybody in. Always know what that is. Once you know what that is, everything else is going to flow after
Love it. What defines success for you with this book? Do you feel like you've reached that point?
Honestly, yeah. My success was writing it and getting it published. That was my success, was getting it out there, and telling my truth. And I didn't know that the motivational speaking would stem from it. I didn't know a second book would stem from it. I didn't know opening up a veteran owned business would stem from. I didn't know all of those things that opened up. When I tell you, when you write a book, and this is for anybody, when you write a book, how many doors will open for you, how many resources will open for you. Like this, the book is a game changer. It is a game changer. And so, yeah, like that was my success. And now I'm able to write more goals. But my success is actually having goals, because I remember when a point in my life where my goal was to get 20, 30, $40 enough for me to go get drugs and to go get drunk. I actually have goals. I'm a present mother today. I'm a loving person, a kind person. I don't have to lie. I advocate for other veterans. That is success. Success is doing it not for money, but for purpose. And I do it for purpose.
Those are powerful words, and I love it. You do it for purpose. Yes, that needs to be a slogan, because as we all know, with in the writing, like, even just marketing books is hard, and there's not a lot of
Yes.
profit on it. But when
Right.
you do it for yourself and with your heart in it, and for your purpose in life to share your story, it's a whole
Right.
different thing. And I feel like more
Yes.
doors do open when you go with it in that mindset.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes.
awesome. So, as a mom, as a writer, and everything else you've got going on, what do you do for self care?
Oh, I journal a lot. I box. I do boxing. I do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Um, I also do EMDR. I know that's kind of like not self care, but when I like that changed for me. That was the big change for me, because
Mhm.
I tried so many different types of therapy, so many different types of rehabs and stuff like that. And literally, the only thing that worked for me was EMDR therapy. And so
Yeah.
that is a form of my self care. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And taking myself out, you know, like going to see a movie, getting my feet done, my nails done. Like I'm a tomboyish 70% of the time, but that 30% I am a girly girl. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, just getting those
I'm
things,
with you
like,
on
my
that.
nails, my toes done. Yeah.
It feels
And
good to have a
just,
massage, when you get your toes done.
right.
That's just like my favorite part. Just massage my
Yes,
feet. You can do
girl.
that for an hour and I will be ecstatic.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes, indeed. All of those things, man. Just and also being aware of the times when I need to slow down, because doing so much will keep you so busy, and you got to be aware when it's too overwhelming. Even though you want to keep going, you want to do all these things because you want to help everybody. I know
Mhm.
I do a lot of the time, but you got to know when you need to slow down and just relax. Take a day, chill, go watch some Netflix, lay down, go, get you some Chinese food, some ice cream, just chill out. Or your body is shut down, one or the other. But knowing when it's time to just chill out and relax, because we will help people. We will help people and we will help many people, but we have to be okay ourselves first before we can do that. Just
Yeah.
knowing when it's time to sit down.
Great advice. And asking everybody about self care is always like one of my favorite questions to do, because everybody's
Yeah.
always got something fun and different, and it's awesome. So
Oh,
we all need that in our lives.
yeah,
Well, Kimberly, do you have
absolutely.
any last like final parting words to offer readers and viewers?
Well, I want you guys to know that healing is possible, that recovery is possible. If a homeless, helpless drug addict like me can overcome addiction, can overcome and face my traumas, I firmly and wholeheartedly believe that you can too. And I'm open to helping anyone. If you reach out to me, I'm quite sure she'll put my information in there somewhere. But yeah, definitely take care of yourself. Take care of your mind for real, because what we think usually becomes our actions. So take care of yourself and know that I love you and I don't have to know you to love you.
I like that. Go ahead and tell our viewers where they can find you in your work while we're here.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so you can email me at kimberly.cares at outlook.com. I also have a website at www.kimberlyclarkwrites.com. I'm on Facebook at Motivation from the Heart. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Hit me up
Awesome.
on
And
either
I
one of
will
those. And oh,
I
I'm
will
sorry.
have
Go
her
ahead.
info you're in the description, guys. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for hopping on today and sharing more about your story and your amazing book. I appreciate having you today.
Thank you for having me. I had an amazing time. Everything just flowed. I had a just awesome time just having a conversation with you, conversing with you. It flowed just like we knew it would. And so
Yeah.
I love speaking with you. Thank you so much again for this opportunity.